What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats and another movement skill short story this week for week 12 of the 2025 NFL season. And in this movement skill short story, we're going to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We're going to do a little bonus episode here oriented around my guy, Barry Sanders. As you can see that I'm repping him here today. We're going to look at his first Thanksgiving game. If you're anything like me, now getting a little longer in the tooth and a little grayer in the beard, a little less hair on my head, you will remember back to 1989 through 1998 and Thanksgiving Thursday, being able to tune in to watching the one and only Barry Sanders, the king of dexterity and movement skill on an American football field, do his thing. Now, if you follow me on any social media accounts, you'll know that a few weeks ago, I had the great honor of being able to meet Barry Sanders for the very first time. Actually, give him my book here, Enhancing Skill in American Football, signed copy to him, which I was very grateful that he received with open arms. And I hope that he's enjoying kind of getting into it. And that was a great honor for me because without Barry Sanders and without his movement skill, I wouldn't have the fascination and obsession that I do towards investigating movement skill on a football field as deeply as I do. And it was because of his movement skill and marveling at it and trying to determine what led it to come to be on a football field in chaos and complexity and the dynamic nature that takes place there. I wouldn't actually have ever gone down this path that I have as a movement and skill acquisition specialist. So, without further ado, we're going to get into his very first Thanksgiving game against the Cleveland Browns, November 23rd, 1989. We're going to look at a few plays here today, and then, of course, in true movement skill short story fashion, we're going to also get into what it is that we might be able to do as skill acquisition practitioners and football coaches to facilitate similar movement behavior. And I say similar here because obviously we're talking about the greatest of all time, the greatest who ever done it. One of the things that we're going to look at here is how Barry was able to solve movement problems in this very first Thanksgiving endeavor. If you are interested and intrigued, I will also share in the comment section below my investigation into his greatest Thanksgiving game against the Chicago Bears in that 1997 historic season as well. And you can kind of look at how things evolved and how skill was adapted for Barry. But we're going to be able to see some trends here. So the very first play is literally the very first snap that he had. We're going to watch it a couple times through here. You know who Barry is, even though this video is very grainy here on YouTube. But you're going to see some quintessential Barry Sanders here right from the start on each one of these respective plays as you watch Barry draw defenders in, freeze them, and then go disappear on them. So one more time here, 100% speed. Hopefully you can see it okay, even though it is relatively grainy. But you're going to see what Barry did early in his career in particular and being able to connect to informational variables about interpersonal distance and posture and kinematics of the immediate opponent. He did it as better than anybody in the history and course of the NFL history, I guess, if you want to think about it like that. But also, we saw him do this as a rookie, 1989. We see it here at 50% speed. That interpersonal distance zeroed in from a perceptual connection standpoint. And as that interpersonal distance changed, let me get my trusty telestrator out here. As interpersonal distance would change between him and these immediate opponents, he would get more and more connected, I believe, and again, I'm speculating here because there's no way to really truly tell, more and more connected to posture and kinematics as interpersonal distance got tighter and closer here. That gave him the opportunity to freeze. And I know you can't see Barry all that well, but who you can see is this linebacker in the hole. Barry, when we get to this interpersonal distance at about 3 to 3.5 yards away, and we can look at it right now, and I'm going to walk this through, geek out with y'all if I could. right? Like this interpersonal distance that exists here between Barry and this defender. We got about a yard, 2 yards, 3 yards, 3.5, 3.5 to 4, somewhere in that vicinity. When he'd get there, he'd often freeze them with the opportunity for him himself to remain open and responsive rather, adaptable around being able to have two-way goes. So he would often create these two-way goes, freeze the defender, jab step right or left as you're about to see him do, and just simply go ghost mode and disappear. Now he gets real tight here. That's something that we saw from Barry over the course of his entire NFL career. One thing that changed for Barry that was adapted and evolved over time is it became less and less about the immediate defender and more about what lied to the left, right, and right beyond the immediate defender. So we won't see that as much in this clip or in this highlight where he's looking to and through more often. He was often in sort of a Saquon Barkley type of fashion, if you want to think about it like that right now in today's NFL, gets really connected, really attuned to immediate defenders, uses that to couple his movement behaviors and actions to really tightly coupled to that. Okay. And again, you can see him once he's got him frozen, he knows that he can get a little tighter. And that jab step can go from a left to right, right to left, outside foot. And then he always had sort of this crossover action that you see right there on my shirt that he was so famous for. It's actually what his logo is on social media. That crossover cut, and then moving from that crossover right into the next movement problem. That's one of the things that Barry was notorious for. Once you make somebody miss, you cannot admire your work. You got to go right on to the next movement problem that's there to be solved, the next perturbation, the next challenge, the next threat, and become sensitive and attuned to what's there as well. And then pick up as much as you can based on how you're able to protect yourself accordingly. We're going to move ahead here to about a minute 52, if I can find this. Is a long video, obviously. This is a lot of clips here. Now we're going to see a 45-yard reception. We don't see a lot of highlight clips of Barry over the years catching the football, though I think if he were to have played in the Marshall Faulk era all the way then now to today's NFL, he would have been finding himself in a Saquon Barkley, a Christian McCaffrey, a Jahmyr Gibbs type of role, catching the ball a lot out of the backfield, screens, swing passes, arrow routes, option routes, the like, right? Because his skill was tailor-made for this. Being able to have guys in front of him slow down and own his movement. Now, he's not a speedster like Jahmyr Gibbs is, but what he is a problem solver. And his movement behavior would closely correspond to that which what was there across situations and across conditions. Across situations, we just saw him running between the tackles on that sort of delayed run and shoot draw, right? Now we see him out in space, convoy in front of him, three guys in front of him, and he's just going to move at a speed and a pace that allows him to connect to the opportunities. I'm already at 50% speed, but you're going to see this crossover cut from right to left as he leans in a curved linear fashion onto that angle to just navigate through the space before he goes right through that respective gap that emerged. Okay. So what we're going to find here, oh, I'm a little bit behind. We're just going to let this play through. What you're going to find here from Barry is even early on, rookie year, the NFL behaves a lot different than college football, Oklahoma State, right? However, in this type of scenario and situation in his Heisman campaign, 1988, you would have often seen him doing this, a lot of guys in space with a lot of space to work with. He didn't find it as much in the NFL because the NFL has more complex problems, right? But what we see is a real comfort in chaos, in dynamically changing spaces, gaps that are emerging and decaying, or emerging and closing, opening and closing. Okay. And we also see a wide open movement toolbox that doesn't get overly latched on to one way of doing, being, and acting. Barry Sanders, a Wuxin mindset, a non attachment to any given way of being able to solve that respective problem. Saw that early on from Barry Sanders, also a calling card of who he is, right? And that we know from all the highlights. We're advancing ahead here, 50% speed. Let's stay at 50%. We're going to watch the next 3, 4 plays here at this 50% speed. Talk about some of the trends in 1989 as a rookie. We're going to see another one of these run and shoot delayed handoffs, okay? Which I think actually set Barry up for success early on when he was really trying to get immersed in what the NFL problems would offer him, okay? As a rookie, things can be moving really, really quickly. Doesn't matter if it's 1989, doesn't matter if it's 2005. When you move from college football to the NFL, things come at you really, really fast. That's why a lot of guys have welcome to the NFL moments, right? The run and shoot and the run side of it happened to be the best canvas, I believe, for Barry Sanders in this way, because it often gave him a lot of these type of 1v1 matchups out of these delayed handoffs against backers in tight space, which from 1989 to 1998 was Barry at his best. One on one, make a guy miss, and then move on to the next movement problem that would be awfully complex. We've seen it across the highlights. We see this. Now we're deeper into the game, right? I think we're still in the first quarter potentially, but we see how it compares to that very first play I showed you. Linebacker, interpersonal distance, freeze him, connect to where he's going, connect to how he's positioned, connect to his orientation. His being this guy right here. But now we got a guy, and one thing that Barry started to develop more and more of, he probably took it in right before this, more to the left and to the right, perception getting wider. A J.J. Gibson, skilled perception getting wider, deeper, longer, and richer, filling in and determining what the picture offers to you in the moment that then you adapt your movement actions through. So my guess is right a half beat before this, he sees this cat coming from his right, Barry's right, right to left. We see this guy already kind of stuck in the ground in the turf because of what happened back here for Barry about right here, because Barry's here now at this moment. Again, grainy video. I apologize for that. It's as good as I could find. He's behind the ref here. He's behind the zebra, right? But right before this point, my guess is he was able to freeze this dude, sees this guy coming from right to left, so Barry commits to that cut earlier. Similar crossover cut from right to left. Jab step goes down. He leans hard. He can do it like you see it on the shirt, right? And you can do it like you see it on the logo. And he did that with the best of them. Leaned on that angle, lower and closer to the ground. Obviously, that might be where some of my my affection for Barry kind of comes from, me being close and low to the ground. But you see it right there. It's adaptable yet, guys and gals. So yes, it's a similar crossover cut from right to left. As he leans on that left foot, you can see him pointing it. Like you can see where that foot is pointed. But he can make adjustments to it to move from right to left. He can lean on it at different angles. He can be at different depths. He can adapt it in relation to different interpersonal distances. This is the open, responsive, adaptable nature of Barry Sanders' movement strategies. calling card from 1989 to 1998. Awfully attuned, highly perceptual creature, Barry Sanders is, but adaptable with the coordination and control of his movement strategies and solutions. And again, from one local movement problem right to the next, you make that guy miss, don't admire your work, go to the next one. Go to the next one. Because the next one is the next guy who's coming here to take your freaking head off, as Barry would say it. He he had his global intention, as he talks about in the NFL films. I wanted to perfect the art of making people miss, or I wanted to perfect the skill in art of making people miss, right? It's always about the next guy to make miss. Interpersonal distance, early in Barry's career, biggest informational variable that we saw him connected to. But even in this grainy video, we can sort of begin to speculate as to what he might be picking up. What is he attuned to? What is he adaptable around? He's attuned and adaptable, not only to interpersonal distance, but immediate defenders, posture, kinematics, and orientation. Depth, base of support. Where can that guy go, left or right? How is he positioned? He's sitting really hard on that left foot with the right foot up above the ground. So Barry uses that to throw that right foot into the ground and go where? Right to Barry's left, to the right of this immediate defender. Make some sense? Hopefully it does. We would see this as trends. There's that crossover again, adapted in a different way. Different way every time. We never step in the same river twice, for we're not the same man. River is not the same either. We're going to fast forward here quite a bit. Okay. So let's move ahead if I can find where I'm looking for here. I'm already in the play. So another run with some cuts, with some adaptable, adjustable movement actions. Okay. The Detroit Lions fans on Thanksgiving realize that for the next 10 years, they are in for a treat. Okay. So let's look at it again, or let's look at this one now. But a similar type of movement problem that we see unfold. Delayed handoff out of the run and shoot. Look at the space. Okay. Still across situations. Make some sense? No two movement problems ever being the same. So no two movement solutions are going to be the same either. Movement strategies being a skilled intentionality, open and responsive to the rich landscape of opportunities to act, aka the rich landscape of affordances. Run and shoot was very conducive to Barry's early skill. I said it before, I'll say it again. This is the third play that we're looking at that feels the same to the outside observer at this moment. Let Barry go where Barry feels he needs to go based on what he's connecting to. Okay? And now we see him interact with the what is. Nobody did it better. Nobody did it better. Interact with the what is. Okay? Let's not miss the forest through the trees. It's like a finger pointing the way to the moon, my guy Bruce Lee, just like my guy Barry Sanders. Okay? Highly influential to the way that I view the world and that which what I study within it. Let's see it and not miss it. The guy's gonna be off the screen, but let's look at Barry's movement actions. Boom. The guy first comes on screen, but look at where we are again. Interpersonal distance, and hopefully I'm going to beat the dead drum here a little bit, or beat the dead horse a little bit. Barry's already did his move. Why has Barry made his move that way? Look at the posture and kinematics of this immediate local defender in this immediate local movement problem. Okay, he's already sat and coiled. Now, this guy actually has a fairly decent defensive position, an athletic ready position to be able to be responsive and open himself. He's probably gotten froze a bit from Barry over a course of time. But that freezes both feet, locks him into the ground, and he's just a half a beat behind Barry now with the crossover cut moving from left to right instead of right to left. Now he's going to space out here, right? We're going to see this guy try to change that angle, stay with him, and pursue accordingly. But he cannot do so because he got drawn in. Okay. So, one of the things that Barry's movement skill really did early on, his style and nature and essence of being, because he would freeze you, come in tighter to you, get up on your toes. It would like get guys hesitant and they didn't know if he was going left or right. So they would become frozen and planted, not able to respond, even if they're in a decent position. Okay. Across situations and across defenders. I'm trying to pause at the right time there. I wasn't able to do so, of course, right? And as I'm trying to prove my point, and you can see decent position, but stuck and frozen. Now, one local movement problem to the next. The next defender to make miss is the most important one. We can see him lock in again. I'm belaboring this point. He gives him a little shimmy and shake, freezes him into the left, freezes him to Barry's left. You can see how this dude is positioned now, and Barry picks up just a little bit more as he can get beyond him and behind him. Forcing missed tackles. Calling card of Barry Sanders. Forcing guys coming up empty handed is good as it comes, right? We're going to move ahead because we got a couple more plays to show here. Okay, hang with me, bear with me if you would. I promise I'm going to get you some activity designs. Barry must have just had a carry there, but we're going to see another little. Now, this is just a little dive, but look at the play. Looking awfully familiar, but don't miss the forest through the trees. Don't miss the cut that was right there for the taking. Okay, this is that last play. We're going to see him now again. Interpersonal distance, posture, and kinematics. Video seems to be getting grainier. Look at this movement problem right now, though, guys and gals. Okay, I want you to just kind of pay attention to this. All eyes on 20, right? Even though you got a here and here coming to help them, right? All eyes to and through on 20. Make some sense? More and more convergence to one guy. That one guy, if you've seen any of the highlights, 1989 and 1998, was able to make people miss in chaos, in complexity across situations. Now we see it again. Pull that guy in, pull this defender in. Man, this video is grainy. I apologize for that, but hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Now we look at where he's going. Points that right toe. This left foot coils down on it, draws this cat in more into that bubble, and then Barry just disappears to his right. Boom, right through. Okay? Doesn't look like a lot, but there's a lot there, right? Forcing missed tackles based on being awfully sensitive, awfully connected, awfully adaptable around the informational pickup that exists there. Behavior affords behavior. What is the what is? Let's move ahead. Last play we're going to look at here. Detroit's up 13-10. There's Bernie Kosar. Quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, pretty frustrated because he can't get his own offense moving and going here on Thanksgiving. Last play we're going to look at. Quintessential Barry Sanders yet again. One guy to beat at the line of scrimmage. Let's watch it, okay? You know I can geek out about this all day long, and you know I will. I do so myself personally. I will do so alongside of you guys on film. Whoop. Okay, kind of Chris Berman-like. Makes a miss. Jockstrap on the turf at the old Silverdome. We're going to watch it again. He did this to the greatest of all time. Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Joey Browner. We saw him do this. Make somebody miss. That one guy who's responsible for you. You just got to make that guy miss 1v1. Tight space in a phone booth. Look at him here. You can already see where he's looking. Talk about the deceptive, creative nature. Talking about looking to and through. Barry started to adapt it and develop it early. This is what, week 12 in his rookie year. Really connected to the immediate local defender. But eventually, year two, year three in particular, by the time we hit like 1994, 5 years in, really connected to what lied to and through, wider and deeper. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Not as much here. Okay. Here it was just about let me make this first guy miss. But it was starting to come. It was starting to come. Freezes them, brings them back into that space, kind of like a mixed martial artist, bringing you into a striking zone. Throw that left foot into the ground as you draw him in and adapt around him. Really, really special stuff from the greatest to ever do it. Okay. Now he takes a big, big lick here. Okay. I can only imagine what it would have been like, obviously, if you're Barry Sanders in these respective situations, because you got defenders that are getting heated, hot, angry around not being able to bring you down in the same way you could with other running backs. Because he simply did not solve movement problems in the same way as others did. And because of that, a lot of unsolvable problems that other players had, Barry did not have. Now, there were still unsolvable problems. Maybe someday I'll do a video around that. There were some plays in this game that we saw some unsolvable problems for him as a rookie, but over time it adapted. Here, week 12, already over 1,000 yards, which at that time in 1989 was a big deal. Obviously, it was only the third line, as you can see on this, to ever have done it. A couple little tidbits here, obviously, in this Rookie of the Year campaign. Goes over 1,000 yards right here. Ends up with 1470 and 14 touchdowns with 5.3 yards per carry. In this respective game, guys and gals, he had something like 190 yards total yards from scrimmage, and the rest of the Lions team had like 126 or something. I'm going to show you guys a few things now, as we do with these movement skill short stories. A couple of things that we can do in our own learning environment. Now, this is going to come, of course, from Enhancing Skill in American Football, Chapter 6, where we talk about problem design, setting problems to draw out similar movement behaviors, right? Here we have making defenders miss through these layers of different movement problems. Okay. One of my very favorite activities to do with the players that I partner with, get this guy with a ball in his hand, offensive player, ball in hand, with an immediate defender to have to make miss. What I do a lot here with this defender is he might be tight within this first 5 yard window. He might be coming from the same place as these guys are and coming head up straight forward from 8, 9, 10 yards away. Okay. I'm going to change that up, repetition to repetition, so we get a lot of repetition without repetition for the offensive skill player. Repeating that process of solving the problem, change your perceptions, change your decisions, change your intentions, adapt your actions to what is there. We might change where that defender's coming, guys and gals. They don't necessarily have to be head up. They could be coming from the left or from the right, or even further left and right. And it's really easy to add complexity to this if we have more guys. But usually my running backs in this situation will have two guys that they are responsible for. One tight and close, one deeper. And depending on where the offensive player goes, like imagine if he were to go here and making this guy miss, he might have to scoot through, right? Or he might go around. It might change where this guy, this deeper defender goes. Make some sense? As I just kind of randomly draw arrows, because that's the way it usually unfolds in our learning environment. Highly alive, very unpredictable. No two reps the same. We get a lot of repetition without repetition, both from a problem standpoint with the variability as well as the solution variability. One activity that we do on the weekly for my running backs in my learning environment. And then another one, affordances across the landscape to try to facilitate this deeper and longer, this to and through perception, but trying to get wider with that perception as well and let this ball carrier go wherever he needs to go. Still has two defenders that he needs to make miss. Obviously, any one of these three defenders could also come free from these blocking engagements at any moment in time also. So that movement problem, highly alive as well. My point with saying this, guys and gals, is we can create slices and snippets of the game that we just saw in those 6 plays from Barry Sanders, 1989, to attempt to facilitate a similar solution process is what we saw from Barry back in 1989. So, guys and gals, as you can see, Thanksgiving should bring us a lot to be grateful for. I'm grateful for Barry Sanders and his influence to bring this to life. And it was a reason why I was as grateful as I was to be able to meet him a week and a half ago, to be able to hand him the book, let him know the influence and impact he has had on my craft, my form of life, how I view the world, and how I attempt to facilitate enhanced skill and channeling dexterity, the ability to solve any movement problem across situations and across conditions for the NFL players that I partner with and the players that you partner with, to be able for all of us to understand it, explain it, but then set learning and a learning environment that is filled with problems, filled with practice activities that might channel it as well. Hopefully you guys were able to geek out on this video as much as I did, as much fun as I had putting it together. If you like this one, give me the thumbs up, hit subscribe, put comments in the section below. Thank you guys for coming along for the ride. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. I'm the Movement Miyagi, Sean Mishka, and Football Beyond the Stats. I will talk to you all next time.